In this step, we will place, size, and link the 5 images which represent our tone and manner, visual direction. All right, so let's go back, and I'm going to go to my layers, create a new layer. We'll name this layer images, and then let's go ahead and place. Make sure I'm in the right folder, and I will select by command clicking the 5 images that I need to add. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Got them. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and click Open. And I'll just place my images. I'm going to use the selection tool, and I'll make sure my border is the appropriate border, which should scale both the image and the contents. Let's see if I got it right here. And we are going to make each image exactly 180 by 180 pixels. Now, when you added these to your discussion, I believe they were 400 by 400 in that process. So I'm just going to use those images and scale them to 180. Now, I could have locked or constrained the proportions. I'll do that on the next one. All right, so there is my image container, but not the image. So let's go ahead and constrain 180. Now my image is correct. Now, it appears that our relative width and height will be 45%. So you can continue to scale these in relative or in absolute. I'll leave that up to you. I'm going to pause for a moment, and we come back, they'll all be done. Now, all 5 images are scaled exactly the same, and just so you know, you can expedite the process by going to Object, Transform, Scale, and this will scale both the container and the image at the same time. And then once you have done this transform, you can select the next image and then select Transform again. And that way those transformations will be applied, and that will speed up the whole process. Okay, so now what I want to do is position my images, and we're going to have 2 columns. The left column will have 3 images stacked up, and the right image will have 2. And the column on the right, the images, the 2 will be lower. So basically, I'm going to begin with this image, and for the moment, we'll just place it here. And then below that image will be this image, and below that image I'll place this image, and this one will go here, and this one here. Then I'll select all of them and just, for the moment, place them like so. Okay? All right, so I'm going to zoom in and make sure that they're not overlapping. Excuse me. And this one should have been 400 by 400. Let's check it real quick here. And it is 180 by 180. 180 by 180. This one is 180 by 180. Oh, I have this one moved down a little bit. So here we go. And you're going to try to be as precise as possible. So when you select your image, okay, you can look at your X and your Y coordinate. So X goes horizontally and Y goes vertically. So if you were very careful, and I have this at 162 where it starts, it would be a lot better if this was at 160, and then I would know that I would have 160 plus 180, I would know that number, and then I would know exactly where this next image begins. But in this case, I'm just going to zoom in and just make sure that the images are in fact right next to each other. And they are. Okay, now what we're going to do is create the space between the images. But before we do that, I had mentioned we're going to import the images, we're going to scale the images, and now what we're going to do is make sure our images are actually embedded into our page. So I'm going to select, and I should be able to do all of these at one time. So I'll just shift click and they're all selected. Okay, so what we'll do is go up to our options and we will embed the link. And if you had a missing file, you can also relink a file, or you can just exchange out images also. But I'm going to embed, and this way, if I move my files around and I don't take my images with me, these become part of the document. They're not linked, they're embedded. This makes the file a little bit larger, but it kind of cuts down on making some mistakes when you're first learning the program. So let's embed the images, and you'll now see the little bitmap icon, which lets us know these are embedded into the document. I'll go back to layers. I'll just make sure that these are on the images layer. We'll collapse and we will save.